Hello, my name is Gareth. You're watching the Hub Online Network, and tonight we have Dennis Adamson in the house. Dennis is an independent candidate for the Fraser Nicola 2020 election. Let's meet Adam now. Or Dennis, sorry. I every time I ever talk about you, I always go Adam, Dennis, and then I go, no, that's not right. It's Dennis Adamson.
It's fine.
So let's have you talk about yourself a little bit there.
Hello. My name is Dennis Adamson, and I'm running as an independent because I believe that the party system has failed us. All parties are for the rich and or the urban. Nobody's speaking up for rural, small town BC, and I would like to be that voice for you.
So what's it now? You've had from what I can tell, a fairly storied career in politics. So can you talk a little bit as to maybe your last 5 years and what that sort of looked like for you?
Well, I'd like to go a little further back if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
When I moved into Yale BC where I live, and I became a member of the volunteer fire department. And one evening, a gentleman named Walter Cassian, who had this position for 21 years and retired, and then it had gone to another town, Sunshine Valley, because Area B, which I represent, is a big circle around Hope. So it had been 3 terms at Sunshine Valley, and Walter wanted it back into Yale, where I live. So he was running around town trying to get anybody to put their name in to run. So he got me a volunteer fire department one night, and he said, Dennis, you'd be perfect. And I said, Walter, I don't know anything. I don't read the paper. I don't have a TV. I don't know anything. He goes, that's exactly what we're looking for. So I said, okay, if you don't get anybody, I'll put my name in. And of course, he quit looking. So my name was in there. I was running against 2 gentlemen from Sunshine Valley. And the crowd, we had a debate in Sunshine Valley and we had a debate in Yale. The crowd just was upset with Sunshine Valley for whatever reason, I don't know, because they didn't know who I was. I was new to the community. But they didn't want Sunshine Valley, so I won with a landslide victory because I was from Yale. That's what I learned. It's not always that they vote for the candidate, it's they vote against things. And that's how governments change. It was a good lesson to me. Speaking of lessons, Walter promised me an education, and I sure am got one over the last 12 years. So I got elected, and I thought, okay, I'm doing this now. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do a good job because the people put their faith in me. So for the first 3 years, I was on 13 committees. I traveled 34,000 kilometers in my car visiting the 15 communities I represent, and 4,000 emails. And when I got elected, I didn't know how to turn on the computer. So it was a steep learning curve. But I found that I love the job. I love helping people and helping my community get to be better. And I think, yeah.
Having been in office before, can you tell us maybe a highlight that stuck out to you, something that you were able to accomplish as being part of the political machine?
Yeah. Over the last 12 years, I have many things that I'm very proud that I had the chance to have a hand in and help. Tasmee Museum on Highway 7 is a museum that, I don't know how the word, it's not glorifying, but it's showing what happened in the Second World War where the Japanese were interned. In Sunshine Valley at that time, they called it Tasmee, and it was 4,000 Japanese people were interned there, and that was the closest one to the coast because you had to be 100 miles away from the coast. So a gentleman there, Ryan Allen, he started a little museum in the corner of his work building, because the work building actually was the butcher shop back in the day. So when he bought the building, he was cleaning it all out. He found all this items from the time period. So he made a little museum on the end of his shop, and he won an award. It was people liked it. So I was talking to him at a ratepayers function, and I congratulated him on his win, and asked him what he wanted to do to expand. And he said, I really, really would like to build a replica cabin. So I said, well, how much is that going to cost? And he said, 25 grand, he figured it cost. So I said, I can give you that out of our heritage fund. So now he's built a replica cabin, and he's just had an old building, which was the kindergarten school, moved over, and he just keeps every year. It's been 4 years now he's been building. Every time I go there, there's always something new. And he just won an award for Historic Place Day. It was, you had to have people show up at your historic residence or whatever, place, take a photo of themselves, a selfie, and send it in. And he beat out 530 some sites across Canada,
Wow.
and his was the most visited. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is awesome. And I had some help in that, which makes me feel good. Also, my wife told me, don't tell people this, but it's what I think is my favorite. And the reason it's my favorite is nobody told me to do it, and I just came up with the idea on my own. So every September, the local government goes to a conference with the provincial government called UBCM. And there we get to go and meet with staff, usually from the different ministries, and beg for stuff for our areas. Like you'll go and say, we need the potholes filled on such and such a road, or whatever the item is. You need money for your community center, whatever. So, like I say, usually you meet with staff. For some reason, I had a meeting with the Minister of Highways. I don't know how it happened, but it was scheduled meeting with the Minister of Highway. So I'm packed up to go to the convention, and I'm thinking, what am I going to say to this guy? Fix the potholes or repave that little road? And as I'm driving to town, I see this boarded up, which I know it's there, but I saw this boarded up. It used to be a tourist handing out stuff years and years ago, and they had boarded it up. And I knew there was running water to there because the Historical Society had asked me if they could get away with paying the parcel tax because no water was used, and I worked that out for them. So I knew there was water coming to this old shack. So I get out of my car, I take pictures of it with my iPad, and I'm off to my meeting. And I go to my meeting with the minister, and I said, it was Todd Stone was his name, Mr. Stone, we need a public bathroom in Yale. And I said, because people are just using it as a bathroom anyway, and since you got in Grant's law where gas stations have to close at 11, unless there's two people, then at 11 most places are shut. So if you don't have a Tim Hortons, there's no place for women to go to the bathroom. And I said, look at Minister Stone, if you build it, I'll name it after you. He goes, no, I don't want it named after me. So he did. He built it. He built gave the highways instructions to build this bathroom in Yale. So when they were digging out to put the septic tanks in, there came this big rock, almost about the table like that, right? So they said to me, Dennis, this is going to cost $2,500 to take this rock away. Or we can just push it over there. You can put the cement barriers around it, and we'll save that $2,500. I said, yeah, push it over there, and we'll call it Todd Stone.
That's the washroom sort of on the corner next to the trading post?
Yeah.
Yeah, we use it all the time.
Good.
Yeah.
I hope you're happy with the cleanliness and all that.
Yeah, it's actually a stop that we I almost go out of my way to just, if I got to go, that's where I'm going.
Yeah,
So
good. And
awesome.
we created a job out of that as well, which was, because I told them, like, if you build it, you guys are paying for everything. You know, and if we're not having pit toilets, we want flush toilets. And if you build it, you have to have somebody do all the work. So one local person got a job, which is great.
So now let's talk more current times. So here you are, you're running as an independent. What are some of the things that you would like to see happen in the Fraser Nicola riding? And so, like, what are some of the challenges that you see us facing, and what are some ways that you think you can mitigate those challenges if you were elected?
No, when I'm elected.
When,
I see, you know, unfortunately, we're living in an area that is economically depressed, and they rely a lot on tourism. In the last 3-4 years, because of forest fires and Corona, we haven't had tourism. You know, and even when we have tourism, it's still not enough. Like no economy can live on just a tourist base. So we need to find some good jobs. I find that Ashcroft here, like take Ashcroft here for example. If I was your elected a representative in Ashcroft, I would be marketing your inland port to as many businesses that I could, because I think it's a fantastic idea. When they built that, I thought, wow, that's a great idea. And land's cheap here, and if you got, say, Canadian Tire, you know, or warehouse here, so they can bring it here and then start doing whatever they're doing, division or dividing it all up, or Walmart, or whatever. I think it's got the potential, if it's marketed right, that we could attract these bigger businesses, and that would help Ashcroft. There's clean businesses that would do really well in the heat of the area because of the sun and the heat. I'd be trying to attract that as well. And I think people want to live simpler lives. I think that actually that's the only good thing out of COVID-19 is that we all kind of got to rethink on ourselves, and we thought, you know, like, yeah, people need to put time to themselves as well. So young people who want to buy a house, these are more affordable areas, but we're also backdoor, like in the backyard is a great place to play. You know, all through our region, there's hikes, there's what else do they do? They do the ATVing and you know, it's just so many things that we have to offer. If we could create a good economy, people would come live here and the towns will thrive.
correct me if I'm wrong. Just before the election was snapped into existence, my understanding is you were actually part of the NDP party. Can you speak a little bit about how, because I'm personally confused about this. You were part of NDP and now you're independent. What was the shift there?
Okay. Thanks for asking the question. I was vice president of the riding, Fraser Nicola, for the NDP. And, well, parties have their own agenda. So they decided that they wanted Aaron
Sumxheltza?
Yes, thank you, Sumxheltza, to be the candidate. When the executive, the executive's job is to raise money, hold a nomination, find a candidate, and do everything to get that candidate elected. So what happened, the NDP used to be bottom up, but lately it's become a top-down organization. So they told us that we had to take this guy as, well, first of all, they sent a notice saying they were going to have a nomination meeting in 22 days in the future, and that he was the only one that's been vetted. And then our party rules say that if you want to run, you have to have your papers in 28 days before the nomination. So we weren't, nobody had enough time to do it because it was only 22 days. And then a week later, they said, we're not even having a nomination where he's the guy. So 13 of us on the executive, we were very, very disappointed with that. And we were tired of being basically told what to do, and we resigned.
Were you eyeing somebody else for the nomination?
There was actually several people that wanted wanted to put their name forward, and if normally what happens is you have the executive about a year before the election. This time we didn't know it was coming, but we had started talking about having the nomination in the near future so that the candidate would have a decent length of time, he or she, to build a name and go around and talk to people and find out what they want and stuff like that. So we were just talking about that, and there was 3 people I can think of that were looking forward to being trying to become the candidate. And that just went by the wayside when this happened.
So at that time, just for clarification, you were not planning on running as an MLA.
I probably would have put my name forward, but okay. I'm not talking. There's 3 others who were as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification on that.
Sure.
Well. Another thing that's sort of been swirling around your particular candidateship is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Pigeon. Can you sort of talk about that? So in a conversation I've had with him, your name came up. It seems like there's a large history of stuff that sort of seems like he wanted to talk about.
Right.
And I'm not sure how you fit into the story here, but if you can talk about that, that would be awesome.
Okay, great. Thanks for the question. Wes Pigeon, he's been approaching different MLAs to try to get them to look at the child abuse in the Maples Adolescent Psychiatric and Forensic Center in Abbotsford, and where he served as a professional counselor. And everybody he approaches, he's approached MLAs in every party, and nobody wants to look into it for some reason. So I can give you an example. It's something the parties don't want to talk about for some reason. I was in a meeting in Chilliwack, and one of the MLAs was hosting it from the NDP, and it was packed. It was on women and religion and politics. So I was there, and I got tapped on the shoulder because I'm an NDP, and called into this outside room saying, "There's a guy out there, and we're afraid he's going to go to the mic and ask some questions. So how are we going to get rid of him?" And I said, "Well, then ask us questions, right? That's what we're here for." But they didn't want to do that for some reason. So they decided, and the man turned out to be Mr. Pigeon. So they were trying to figure out how to get out of it. And one of the gentlemen said, "Look, I'll go start getting him, I'll go aggravate him, and let him hit me. I'd take a punch in the head for the party." And anyway, that it didn't come to that, but Mr. Pigeon has that effect on these people, and I don't understand why. So he approached me, and he told me about the child abuse, and at the time, I couldn't do anything about it because the party doesn't want to talk about it. So when I became independent, I ran into Mr. Pigeon again, and I thought, now I don't have to worry about what the party says. I can just try to get him the platform to seek out his to tell his story and support his evidence and stuff. And I think that's part of the problem with parties. It's like they're almost, like a cult, right? It seems, or when you're in it, you may see stuff you don't like, but you don't want to hurt the party, right? And this is every party. This is why parties have to go. So, like I say, he's gone to a lot of MLAs who just don't want to touch the subject, which to me it's I can't even understand. If you know about some child being abused and you don't do anything, in BC, it's 6 months in jail or $10,000 or a $10,000 fine or both. And so he's kept track of every MLA that he's went and tried to get help from. And like I say, I don't understand why they won't do an investigation. They never say that he's wrong because they don't look into it. So,
right.
Yeah. So to me, it's all also, so it goes to morals. Like when you're talking to somebody that you want to represent you and you ask them, hey, are you going to stick up for children? And they don't. I don't want that kind of leader anymore. I'm telling you, if you're in a party, put down the Kool-Aid, you'll feel a lot better.
Yeah. Is there anything else on that particular topic that you want to say?
Well,
Because I'm gonna move on from that.
Yeah. No, I just it's a touchy subject, child abuse. Nobody really wants to admit it's happening sometimes, I think. But we owe the children, even if, like the Maples facility is for the most troubled kids in BC. This is their last chance for hope, for being fixed. And this is most vulnerable children. And lots of them are for Fraser Nicola, he told me. And we're letting them down by not investigating this. And like I say, I think every MLA that said, who did nothing, Jackie Taggart being one, Sonia of the Green Parties, and they're all been asked to do something about it, and none of them did, and I think it's just terrible.
Policy-wise, so I'm moving on from that. Policy-wise, what do you feel are some of the some promises that you feel are something that, as an independent, that you would vote for if it came to the floor, and what are some of the things that you feel probably you wouldn't go for, as an independent voter in the Legislative Assembly?
Well, it's a good question. It's hard to think of things.
So right now, some of for this particular election, some of the things that parties are promising.
Yeah.
The no PST for a year, the $500 to $1,000 depending on single person or family that the NDP want to hand out. Yeah. So what are some of the things that if you were elected, maybe you would champion, and maybe what are some things that you would, for the province, want to bolster?
Okay. I think for the riding, I would champion anything that's going to bring economic development here. I think that every party does have an idea here, an idea over there, an idea in that party that's good, because they're all trying to come up with good ideas. Even a blind squirrel will stumble over a nut. So I will support that blind squirrel if it's an idea that I believe Fraser Nicola would be behind. I think that we want clean energy. We don't want pollution. We want living wage, not minimum wage. We just want to try to make it a better place for everybody. I think the hospital here in town, it should be open. Hope Hospital should be bigger. And even places like I was talking to Logan Lake, and they don't have a doctor. So we need to get the basics so that people say, okay, I can live in that community, you know, and I will fight for you whenever something is going to help us. I'll fight. If it's hurting us, I'll fight to not have it. So thanks.
Having spoken with all the other candidates, only one party so far seems to have a strategy that they're, you know, with meetings and talking points and that sort of stuff. And that's, so far, everybody else doesn't seem to be in contact with other MLAs or the leader or whatever. As an independent, is there any kind of support structure for yourself as you're running as an MLA?
Yeah, I have constituents who are happy with my 12 years of service for them, that have made donations and given their time to help me get elected, because they believe that if I go to a bigger arena, right now I'm doing Circle Round Hope, and if I go to a bigger area, I can help more people like I have helped them in the last 12 years. And so, yeah, I do have support that way.
How do you, so Fraser Nicola is a fairly big riding. I'm not sure if it's the biggest riding in BC, but it's a fairly big riding.
Yeah.
How do you think you would be able to facilitate sort of being all encompassing in the party, especially when you live in sort of the bottom tip, as it were?
Yeah. Well, I love driving. If you remember earlier in the message, I said my first year in local government, I put on 34,000 kilometers on my car. I also believe that it's getting really easier now with Zoom or different platforms like that, that you can actually, you're almost like face-to-face, not really face-to-face, so we all kind of hate it, but it is the future, and I believe that way it'll allow the constituents more access to their politician. And I would also be probably setting up a place in a couple of the different communities like Ashcroft and maybe Lillooet, Hope or Merritt, where I do a day a week there. Right. Or I have staff there for a day a week or something, so that we can go direct to the people. And I tell you, you'll have my number, give me a shout. I'd be happy to come and look at your problem, see what I can do to solve it. That's how I work now. If somebody calls me and says, Dennis, I got a problem, I hop in my car, I go over, I take a look at it, and then we try to solve the problem. I get, you know, like whatever it is, and get on with life. Yeah. I work for you.
So far in this campaign, because you've campaigned before, what are some of the different challenges that you're facing with COVID on the campaign trail? And what things have sort of fun things or things have stood out in your mind as campaigning that has sort of been fun or helpful to you?
Good questions, Garth. This time it's a totally different animal. You know, every other election I've been in, you know, you have a bit more time, and I love knocking on doors and meeting people. I really do. That's my favorite thing, is just to go out and talk to people and listen to them, and then see if I can help them. So this election, I haven't really done that as much because of COVID. You know, you know, you don't want to go to somebody's door you don't know, knock on their door, and you got to jump back 8 feet and all of this. It's harder to reach the public, but it's for their safety as well as your own, that you don't canvass door to door. So I got, you know, not a lot of signs. Being independent, you run on a tight budget. So I got signs out there with my phone number on them. And places like the Hub here, that's a wonderful way to get your message out. And I want to thank you for that, Garth. And when I did the show here with the other candidates, I received emails from different people with questions. And,
Oh, good.
And no, it was really good. Yeah. So stuff like this is how, you know, that's why I'm here on this last day, because Garth can get me an audience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I suppose, is there any thing that I've missed? We've talked about your platform. We talked about how you would integrate into the bigger idea of Victoria.
Right.
Is there anything else that you feel you gotta talk about? Do you have a last pitch to vote for Dennis?
Vote for Dennis. Okay, I'd actually like to read this, if you guys don't mind, because sometimes it's easier to write your thoughts and then read them as to just ad lib. And
Of course.
okay, thank you. The reason I'm running as an independent is I believe the party system is broken. The three political parties in BC election all care about the rich and powerful corporations' interests, or for rural BC. I want to be the voice for small towns and rural BC. Raise the issues most important to the people of Fraser Nicola, such as jobs, economic development, small business survival, fighting climate change, health care access for small communities, affordability, transportation infrastructures, and Indigenous issues. I can best do this as an NDP who's free from the strict controls of the political parties. I believe the independent candidate can work harder for the constituents and can represent true democracy. For the last 12 years, I've had the privilege of serving Electoral Area B at Fraser Valley Regional District Board as their local government representative. In that time, I fought to establish internet, cell phone coverage, converted an old school into a community center, constructed a fire hall, public washrooms, built a water reservoir, and many more. I would like to take what I've learned and fight for the area's interests. As representative for Fraser Nicola, I will fight hard, make sure that the area is a better place to live for children, young families, and seniors while keeping tax low. So vote for Dennis on October 24th. I will fight for you. Thank you.
Through that, I thought of one last question.
Sure.
If you had all the money that you needed, all of the votes that you could possibly have,
Yeah.
everybody just said yes.
Yeah.
What is one thing you would personally put in somewhere in Fraser Nicola? What would you change if you could?
What would it change? Well, actually, there's a few things. Stuff that I've already started at this level. I'm building a park in Yale for Walter Cassian. He served the local government 33 years, and his wife, Sophie. So I'm doing that right now. I'd continue that. I would lobby to get the the Alexander Bridge fixed and also turned into, I believe it would, in my opinion, and other people's too, not everywhere, I think it should be a federal park of unification. There's nowhere in Canada that there's a park celebrating the unity of the country. And BC only came into Canada because of the promise of the train. So that bridge is a representation of all that. And Ministry of Highways owns the bridge, and they're currently doing nothing about it. So we're concerned it's going to eventually fall into the river and be lost to us. So I would definitely work on that with the local First Nations Spasm Band, and have a interpretive center for the Indigenous and for the country at that time period. I would put a bridge in Spencer's Bridge. They've been asking for a bridge for years, and the Liberals took it out. And I understand on the long weekends when the Cokes close, the traffic is just unbelievable there. And if there was ever a fire, the fire department has to go up on the highway around, and it's just a nightmare. So I would fight to get the bridge back. I would well, I'd always fight to get more jobs coming in. Like I already mentioned here for the yard. I come up with these great ideas, right? And, I think they're great ideas. This spring, I wanted to build a statue in Yale, 27-foot high gold penner, because I thought people would come and that would get people to stop and take pictures and all that. The town wasn't. They weren't really excited about it, but I just come up with things that I think would be good, and if everybody agrees, we get it done. Like, what have I done? Down on Highway 1 at 100 Creek, if you're coming east, there's a container, 2 containers, one on top of each other. And the message says, number 1 highway for a reason. It's to attract people to go on the number 1 instead of the Coquihalla, because tourists that are just here and they punch in the the thing in the phone, it takes them up to Coquihalla, and they miss the beauty of Highway 1. Highway 1, people come from all over the world to travel Highway 1, that historic Gold Rush Trail, and it's just so beautiful. I would put money into that to help the local businesses, to encourage travelers to come like that. And what else? There's always something. There's always something you have to do.
No, that sounds like a lot. That's a pretty good list. Last thing for me is, who'd you vote for? No, I'm just kidding.
I just went for the top guy. I just opened it and stopped there. And yeah, I wasn't going to say that. When I mentioned earlier that I'd keep the taxes low, I'll tell you about my area. So I got elected in 2008, and the regional district, who I represent, and so the taxes are going to the regional district. So when I got elected in 2008, the average house in Area B paid $410 per year in taxes to the regional district. So 12 years later, I've increased service. I got the community school turned into community center, so there's a parcel tax there. I got a heritage tax to fund all the different signages in the canyon, and so I added that. So 2 services, and the third was economic development. So in 12 years, with the adding of 3 services, I started out $410, the average house. This year, the average house was $408. So I really watch I spend the money like it was mine, and I really seriously conservative in that. But also, I'm social minded. I want everybody should be looked after. Seniors, the homeless. We got all these problems that we got to solve, And I believe we can do it, you know, if we just work together and do unto others. Yeah. So vote for me, and I will work hard for you guys.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. I really appreciate your time. And to everybody at home, if you'd like to see more of Dennis, you can go check out the All Candidates Forum that we did last week. And if you haven't voted yet, hopefully this might sway your vote one way or another. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, guys.